Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, I'm looking at this. Yes, this is Star Trek Generations from 1994. Now, it's quite a while since I saw this film. I had certain perceptions about this film, and now I've watched it again. I think some of those perceptions have actually been confirmed. It's a film that, for me, I don't like being negative, as you know in my reviews, but there's a lot of problems with this film. There really is. And in many ways, it's a film that should not have been made like this. It just feels very wrong, and there's a background to that, certainly is. I mean, for me, the classic Star Trek crew ended with the Undiscovered Country, the sixth film. That, to me, was the fitting end. And of course, I think 4 key members of the cast actually believe that as well. And I think that is an interesting part of it. But we'll go into some of those issues. I don't want to I sound totally down on it. I'm not going to be totally down. It is an enjoyable film, yes. I see it. But for me, as I feel this was the film that was like introducing the next generation into the Star Trek films, and somehow it's not really a good introduction. I don't think so. Considering that we get the film that comes next, First Contact, is so brilliant, it's so spot on, it really overshadows this, and it's kind of sad, really, that this film is how it is. Anyhow, let me just go into a few things about it. It's 118 minutes long, and if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm surprised it's as high as this. 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's sort of. It had a very lackluster review by a lot of critics, and I think quite rightly are still questioning aspects of this film. Quite rightly, I think so, because you don't want to see this. You don't want to see the legacy of the films ruined to some extent and reflected in this. It was made for $35 million, and it made, at the box office, $118 million. So it obviously was quite successful in that. And as it would be, I mean, it's Star Trek, and it carried on as they into the next film. So obviously it was a film that they wanted certainly to make, and it had been one in the plans that this would happen. It was directed by David Carson, who did a lot of TV work and was in fact involved in directing some episodes of Deep Space Nine. He would be. The interesting part is the screenplay. The screenplay was by Ronald D. Morgan and Brannon Braga. Now the screenplay, it had been such a problem. This is one of the problems, the rewrites on it, the problems with it and the settings. This had been going on for quite a few years, and I think it is reflected in it, in the script, that the script could have been better in many ways. The organization of it, the way it's put together, you just feel it's not a cohesive form um, of writing, really. The scenes and the way it's just, there's something not quite right about it. And then that is reflected, the director is obviously doing the best he can, and he does the best he can. And the actors, certainly, I would say the next generation actors, well, those that are given the screen time, certainly I don't fault their commitment into this project, and they bring some great performances, and certainly Patrick Stewart, of course, is just fantastic. The cast is, of course, headed, if you by Patrick Stewart as Picard, and that's interesting the way they see in this film straight away as the next generation film. Data is, as usual, played by Brent Spiner. Riker, Jonathan Frakes, Geordie, Levi Burton, Worf, Michael Dorn, Dr. Crusher, Gaze McFadden, Troy, Marina Sirtis, and we've even got Guinan in a few scenes, which is always good to see. Again, you feel that she is a bit underused again in this, as are most of the next generation characters like Dr. Crusher and Troy. They don't seem to have much role in the film at all. They're just a bit here and there, which is sad again, which again undermines, I think, some of the things. And at least in the First Contact, they do have, to me, a much better roles in it. Even then they could improve, but at least they're there. In this film, you just don't feel them impact at all. Even Worf's there, but the main concentration of the film is Patrick Stewart and Brent Spiner, really. And I think that's good. Their performances are great, and certainly Brent Spiner develops Data in a really interesting way as well, and I can't really fault that at all. It's always good to see. Then we've got this is interesting. The Dura sisters are reprising their roles. Barbara Marsh and Gwyneth Walsh. It's not that big a role, but they're there. They play some part in the story. The main actor, who's the guest star, you could say, is Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Soren. Now, I really like Malcolm McDowell. He's a great actor. Because I've got to say, I just found this out, actually. I didn't know he was born in Leeds. He was actually born in Leeds. Great place. Like I was born there. A place called Horsforth. Now, Horsforth is not that far from where I was born. I'll throw that in. That excited me to think, oh yes, another good Leeds one. Yes. Anyhow, he's been in some tremendous films, and he's still working. He still does a lot more TV work now. But his films, Clockwork Orange, obviously, he stands out. For me, I loved him in Cat People. He was in Heroes, TV series. He was in just stacks of things, of appearances. He's a great actor. Now, I feel in this film he does okay in it, but he's not an outstanding villain, I'm afraid. I don't think that's his fault. I think it's the script again. He does best what he's given, but you don't feel he's one of a memorable Star Trek villain at all. No, I don't feel that, which is very sad again. And if you notice, I'm still talking about the next generation and the guest stars. I'm not talking about what this film is supposedly selling, which is it's handing over the classic cast, because 3 characters from the classic cast, 3 actors agreed to reprise their roles. For 20 minutes, we get them at the beginning, and then obviously the headline's Captain Kirk. We get him a bit more at the end. He's supposedly pivotal to the story. I really just, it's a whole disappointment, the whole thing. So we've got Chekhov back at the beginning. We've got Scotty. I mean, it just doesn't feel right, you know. You think, where are the other the key members as well? You know, I mean, they did quite rightly. They saw the script and thought, well, we're not going to be involved in this, and I don't blame them. And to be honest, the performance of William Shatner as Kirk, does he really look like he's really into it? He's there for the money, it seems to me. I don't know how I persuaded him. And of course, it was all known that he was going to be killed off. And what a disappointment that is in the film. I know that seems like a spoiler alert, but it was well known. I mean, what? This is just madness. I mean, I don't normally talk like this, but I was so disappointed again watching this film. For all the positive sides of this film, it's a big downer for me. I'm such a great fan of the classic series, and to see this is so sad. It really is. It's why on earth they decided to go ahead with it, I don't know. But it seemed probably like a good money-grabbing idea. Seemed like a good idea, but even then you can tell because of all the arguments that went on in the script. And the other actors clearly rejecting it, not wanting to come back and be involved. And don't forget, Leonard Nimoy was very much an enthusiast of the Star Trek universe, and he appeared, as we know, in the films, the Abraham films, the reboots. So I think that tells you enough about the fact that he rejected this because of the script and not wanting to be associated with it. And I can't blame him at all. You know, I mean, Star Trek without Spock is just not Star Trek. It really isn't. And their absence is there. It's all there to see. Incidentally, they do put a few little, callbacks to the sort of series. You've got Sulu's daughter, played by Jacqueline Kim, Demora Sulu she plays, which is a nice touch again. But where did that go? Nowhere. Incidentally, Tim Russ, who plays Tuvok in Voyager, also makes an appearance as a crew member in this. You can see him, but he's not as the Tuvok character. But anyhow, just thought I'd drop that in. I mean, you say, what is the story? The premise of the story, basically, is that this renegade scientist, you can call him Dr. Sauron, his plans to get into the Nexus. The Nexus is this area where it's like a sort of heaven kind of place, if you want, where people want, once they get in there, they don't want to get out. It's like a place that, you know, people say when you go die that you would go to. It's like a heaven place. And because of what's happened with his life, the way he's sort of scarred to some extent, then yes, this is what he does, and it's a big cost. He doesn't care that he's going to destroy lots of worlds and lives for his ambition to do that. And Picard and the Enterprise are there to stop this. That's their aim, and that's how the premise of the story develops. we see Picard as well. He's questioning his mortality to some extent. His brother and nephew have been killed, died in a fire. He's reminiscing a lot about his life. Then we've got the story of Data with his experience in human feelings and with this chip that is placed in him, and there's his development. So it's all about this sort of feeling. I think generations talking about people's legacies, and what is life about? Is life making do what you should be living now, or just it's those age-old questions about how we should live our lives. And when you get older, there's that question about it. And some people obviously see that life is quite sort of, it's over quickly, relatively speaking. And is it all a waste of time? What are we doing here? There's all these usual questions. And the Nexus is an interesting part of that, as about religion, about a place that we go to and what we should do in our lives. It's really like we all, as we get older, me included, now particularly, you think about your own mortality. And it is about mortality. And this is what Picard. And there's some nice stuff involved in there. But again, you feel it doesn't get it across as it should do. I don't think so. The ending. I mean, the ending, really. It's terrible, really, because the death of Captain Kirk, this iconic figure, it just goes by. What a mistake. How insulting, even, to his character that he's given this. It's supposedly an heroic death. It's terrible. It really is. I don't know why on earth he agreed to it. He shouldn't have. It's a total big mistake. The legacy of the character is spoiled, totally. Totally spoiled, I think. I'd rather forget it. You almost want to erase this. This never happened. But looking at it is an entertaining film. It is entertaining. I did enjoy it in that level, but always, for me, there was always that underlying feeling that there's something not right about this film. I mean, the special effects are great. It looks great, because I've talked about our special effects. No, they're not the be-all and end-all. The story is the important part. So, I cannot fault the acting, and Patrick Stewart is fantastic, always fantastic. And I think Brett Spiner is also great in the role. Thank heavens. And that is good. But as I say, it doesn't reflect well on the next generation either. But fortunately, they were able to rectify that and give us First Contact. So, I'm trying to be positive here. The music's interesting. It's by Dennis McCarthy. And I can hear there's bits of reflecting on the past music of Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith, of course, he does the music, returns in the First Contact film, which is great to see. But I like you here, I heard, Deep Space Nine music. I quite like Dennis McCarthy's use of music, and that's a good plus side to the film. See, I'm scrambling around trying to find more plus things. But I would recommend this film, definitely. I still recommend it, watch it and make your own opinions about it. You know, you could say, is it going to change me in terms of what it's trying to say as a film? No. I mean, I know about these things, about how do we live our lives, and this film is just reflecting on death and, as I say, and that. So there we are, and science fiction is always good at doing this, and Star Trek has always been fantastic at raising all these kind of issues and doing it so well. That's just my opinion. I think not everybody will agree. I know a lot of people. There are more people who do like this film more, and I like it. I'm very happy. I'll watch it again, have it in my collection, but it's still not what it should be, and it is perhaps one of the weakest of all the Star Trek films because of that for me. Even Star Trek 5, to me, in comparison, looks better in terms of how I feel about it than this film. It's just a personal opinion. But there we are. Just a quick word on this. This is, let's say, the 4K, nice slipcover. There we are. Got some nice extras on the Blu-ray disc as normal. Here we are. The usual black for the 4K, and the Blu-rays in a blue. And again, this is the same on the back. It's a great transfer. Absolutely, looks absolutely wonderful, the transfer. They've all been good so far. What I've seen of this is excellent. So, that's it. That's Star Trek Generations from 1994. And I would definitely, it's well worth having a good look at, definitely. Just make your own opinion about it. But there we are. So, if you're interested in these videos, please subscribe, and we'll let you know when they appear. It lets you know, and all that notification. And if you like it, please give it a like. It all costs no. All helps with algorithms, they say, and gets more people hopefully interested. And if you've got any comments, please, which I'm sure some of you have, I'm totally going to disagree with me on this. But I honestly, I promise I won't really. I never try and give negative reviews. But I felt I have to be honest about this film, how I feel. But hopefully I'm not being negative. There is a lot of good things. Anyhow, all I've got to say before I go on and on is, I'll see thee again.